next to me, my neighbor is the second best guardian of my home, and I need to be aware of that. My neighbor needs to be aware of that. And regardless of what kind of food they cook or what they look like, we need to realize that our neighbor and I are obviously not all that different. We live in the same kind of home, in the same town, work in the same kinds of jobs, in the same world. Sure, maybe there might be religious and spice differences, but outside of that, there really aren't that many differences.
Dirty human lovers.
Right, so I have a hard time putting myself into a box. The only reason why I associate heavily with the left as opposed to the right is social liberties.
Sure.
I believe that, any person should be allowed to do whatever they want as long as they're not harming another person. You can even harm yourself. I think I believe in the full legalization of drugs. I think I believe in
so do I, definitely.
The full legalization of just about anything. And I don't think that religion is, one of my big problems in this country. And everybody says, oh, this country was founded on God. Every country was founded on God in 300 years ago,
or 7,000 years ago.
Right. Every country, like literally every country, that if you're an American, basically part of the agreement to be a citizen of the United States is that it's United States first, then your religion. Now that's going to piss a lot of people off, but the idea that you're going to let other people in and then try to tell them to be different, don't get me wrong, you got to follow the laws. I think ultimately this is terrible. A lot of people this is going to piss them off, but I think I'm a globalist in the sense that I think all people should have the same freedoms. I'm all about America. I totally support America. I want to make America a better place. Whether it's a crap hole now or the greatest place ever, you always want to make it a better place. It's the place where you're from. But I also care about the way women are treated in Iran. If I'm going to sit here and say that I only care about myself and I don't care the way their governments go, I am a globalist. I do think that the people in Iran should have the same freedoms that we have here.
Yeah,
and I guess think that should agree. Be a goal of us. Now, I don't think we need to militarily do it.
Right. I think exporting freedom militarily in ways that coincidentally make massive bucks for American corporations and don't really make anything for the actual people is not great. But I think in theory, there is a way to do this. And I would call myself a globalist too, because I think socialism can't be full socialism unless every country is socialist, basically.
Right.
Which is, fine, but there's always going to be hierarchies, capitalist contradictions, that kind of thing that seep into socialism if you have to deal with capitalist countries.
See, I don't see socialism as really being an option because we haven't solved the corruption evil factor yet. I see that creating narrow pathways to leadership for shady shit.
Well, I'm not a Stalinist. I mean, I don't...
Well, no, I get that. I'm just saying...
Socialism doesn't have to be heavy-handed government committees decide everything. Socialism... Personally, if I were redesigning the U.S. from the ground up, I would... do the economic reforms I mentioned before, but I would get rid of Congress and just have a direct democracy. Everyone votes on literally everything. And, if people are uninformed, then probably the first thing they'll vote to do is give themselves more time to figure stuff out. And give themselves.
What about the Constitution? Would you get rid of?
I hate the Constitution. I get rid of it. Who cares?
Yeah, but you can't. A direct democracy without a line drawn in the sand is very, very dangerous.
I mean, you would have a constitution. You would just not have the Constitution.
I see. Okay.
I mean, you would have rules. You would have a Bill of Rights, which is the thing that I do like about the Constitution. We have a great Bill of Rights. I think,
we
you
just
would have stuff like that. Right. You would have executives. You would have courts. None of that stuff would or should change, in my opinion. I just think we have the technology now to make that we no longer need representatives. And so I think we can all be our own representatives.
This is one thing that frustrates me in these conversations, and I know you get this concept, but I'm going to throw it out there for the audience. One thing that tends to frustrate me in these conversations is what should happen now and what should happen in the future. You know, I'm pretty much coming from the now angle. As far as in the future, I like to refer to myself as a federationalist.
Okay.
Which is basically the governments from Star Trek, you know?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Which is basically a communism or a socialism. You know, I would like to get to that point. That is literally
what I was just describing. Like,
right. I would totally like to get to that point, but I was thinking more in terms of the now as to what I am. But yeah, I think I agree. In the long run, I think that, well, frankly, I think we're two inventions away from not needing money. Basically, if we figure out perpetual clean energy, and if we figure out how to rearrange atoms to create food out of our crap, those two inventions.
I feel like that's more than two inventions.
No, I don't think we're a huge.
You just don't invent them.
What?
Unlimited clean energy, maybe, or nigh unlimited, but the rearranging atoms, I don't think any indication that we'll be there in less than a century, you know.
Century is not a long time. I think it will take us longer to adjust to that world than it will take us to invent those things.
Maybe.
You know, because look at this, about 3 years ago, maybe more like 6 years ago, the world was talking about how we might need to cut the work week down to 4 days. And the reason why was inventions were destroying jobs and robots were able to feed people. And people go, there ain't no robots feeding people. Yes, they are. They are milking your cows. They are threshing your fields. They are doing your stuff, and they were talking about doing that. And then all of a sudden the world said, no, that would take our money, and then they squashed the concept.